Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. In this session, we are going to discuss different themes intertwined into the very texture of the story of this short story under discussion, A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. Introduction to our main question. What is a theme? A theme in a story is a literary device. It is the main idea, the main string that a writer sticks to, or rather tries to give his message through this main idea or the main string of the story. Rather, you may call it a binding force behind all the workings of the story. A literary theme is the main idea or underlying meaning or message a writer explores in a novel, short story, or other literary work. The theme of a story can be conveyed using characters, settings, dialogues, plot, construction, structure that is, or a combination of all of these elements. Usually, this main idea is the undercurrent of the story that is to be felt and is to be derived by the readers. The intention, you may say, the background intention of the writer, what he wants to convey to the reader through this story. Thus, it is clear cut that the theme of a story is the pivotal point, is the main string, is the orbital point rather. The theme in a story is its underlying message, as we have already discussed. Theme is defined as a main idea or an underlying meaning of a literary work, which may be stated directly or indirectly. You know very well, as students of literature, that there are many kinds of themes. The writers intend to intertwine and interlink into the very texture of the story. Thus, we may say that a theme is an element of a story that binds together various elements, essential elements of a narrative, of a literary work. It is often a truth that exhibits universality in itself and stands true for all people of all cultures, regions, countries. It has got a universal appeal, rather, you may say. A theme gives readers better understanding of the main characters, conflicts, experiences, discoveries, explorations, and emotions, feelings as they are derived from them. Through themes, a writer tries to give his readers an insight into how the world works around, or how he or she views human life. His viewpoint, rather, it is the vision of the writer that is imbued into the very texture of the story through these themes. And you have now confronted with many of such themes on war, human conflicts, love, nature, love for nature, racism, and so many of them that you have now experienced as students of literature, in dramas, in novels, in short stories, in poetry, everywhere. In every literary creation, you face these themes. You have to explore and discover what is the main message of the writer, of the maker of that creative activity. When we come on to this story under discussion, A Rose for Emily, we find many themes intertwined into the very texture of the story by William Faulkner. As a representative writer of the southern areas of America, He has surely a love for his own land, his own traditions, and and that is reflected through all his writings, his novels, his fiction writings, and everywhere he stands as a man of the South. So, the main current of this story is surely a depiction of the South and its life, its workings of society, and other types of conflicts, experiences of the people living in that very community of the South. Then, if we just have to point out some of the main themes, we have already discussed this topic in detail, the major themes of the story in our another discussion. However, here we will be just touching upon pointing out the mainstream themes intertwined into the very texture of this story. First of all, there is the theme of the Southern tradition. He, as a writer, William Faulkner, as a writer, has surely imbued this theme into the texture of the story, the Southern tradition. And then there is the family. The old is gold. That is his viewpoint. He stands for aristocracy, depicting the life of the commoners, comparing it to the life of the aristocrats, and presenting the conflict between the older families, the families he uh, respects, the families of the from the Victorian age, and the new rivals, the new family structure. And there is much more deeper things to be explored into this story. Then the community, a mixture of the old and the new, the conflicts arising from therein. Then the landscape of this area, as he has depicted a very small town of Jefferson in this story, uh, taking many hints from his uh, utopia like imaginary and fanciful uh, town. History and the past are also the main theme of this story. He has uh, been very loyal to his southern tradition, and he respects and honors the past, all elements of the past, all symbols of the past, the old people living, the old buildings, and the old traditions. And then there is surely a touch upon the race, the conflict between the Negroes and the white races. But he has not exploited this uh, theme as does other writers. Uh, he has touched upon this theme of racism. Surely the conflicts are there, as we see in this very story as well. The Negro being presented, the Toby being presented as a subsided, subordinate character, and the white Emily and his family presented as the superseding ones, the powerful. And then there is the presentation of the passion of ambition and surely love. And there is also arising from this conflict of passion, of ambition, and love is the theme of alienation, seclusion, loneliness, that is also lurking in this story very much. Rather plays a very significant role. The alienation, the seclusion of the family, cutting away from the whole mainstream social setup and living a life of seclusion. The whole family suffers for it, especially the main character Emily becomes a victim of this seclusion created through this passion of ambition and love. Then, surely, my dear students, there is another theme, that is man's overall capacity and indulgence in evil deeds. Evil cannot be denied. It is the truth that is there. Negative approach towards life. But what Faulkner does is to make goodness prevail in the end. This Calvinistic position that man is evil contends that sinful must be expiated, redressed. And this is what he does through this story as well. Images of collapse and disintegration illustrate the moral paralysis and spiritual desolation and sterility suffered by many of his characters. Especially in this shape, we find same kind of deterioration in Emily. And this capacity for evil has been conveyed through her character very beautifully. Dear students, the main concern of Faulkner was to dive deep into the heart of his characters as he elaborated his main concern during his speech while he was receiving his Nobel Prize in 1950. He very elaborately discussed in his speech that it is his craft to depict the struggle, the conflict within human heart, the human heart in conflict with itself. It has many layers of depiction in Faulkner. It is the same borrowed stream of consciousness technique that he has borrowed from Virginia Woolf and other writers of that Ezra Pound type of people, for whom he has got a debt surely. This conflict, as you know, has been presented in type of a psychoanalysis in the story. He dives deep into the psyche of that girl, that beautiful lady, but remains aloof as well as a writer. Doesn't touch upon her feelings, intrudes into her feelings, rather elaborates them from the point of view of the narrator, and just depicts the inner working of that heart, the psychological conflict, the uh, experiences she has to face as a human being, and the tragic death at the end of all those sufferings throughout her lifespan of more than 74 years. This is what Faulkner has got the greatest gift and tool in his hand to dive deep into the heart of his characters. And from here, he has depicted the another theme of vanity, snobbery on the part of the aristocratic people. Vanity, snobbery, showiness, and considering them up above the common lot. This is another theme that is brought out of this conflict within Emily herself. Dear students, continuing this capability of Faulkner to dive deep into the soul of a character, we may say that it is the writer's duty is to write about man's soul and his capacity for endurance and compassion and sacrifice that he surely shows in this very story. Thus, Faulkner engaged in a constant struggle against defeatism, negativism, cynicism, and pessimism in life. He stressed his faith in the human heart's ability to triumph over the failings of the modern human condition: greed, injustice, fear, cowardice, and duplicity. And this family, the Grierson family presented in the story, is leading a dual life. Apparently, they are all hollow and shaken, but from a family point of view, they think that they are still as powerful as snobbish as they were in the past. Therefore, they have got the right to be respected by society. Rather, this kind of vanity that makes them a special species in this living stream of life makes the story a very interesting account of uh, the aristocratic class that Faulkner has depicted in this story. We may say that this vanity, this snobbery, is the main cause of their destruction and ruin, uh, while other factors also play their role. The seclusion of the girl, the self imposed seclusion of the girl, keeping herself to herself without expressing her feelings for love, feelings for mixing up in the community. She just adheres to the family tradition of keeping herself to herself without allowing the outsiders and intruders into her life and just going waste at the end. Dear students, the story has got another very sad theme to convey to us as readers, and it is the very gloomy, murky decline of the Southern tradition that he is fond of presenting in his stories. Then there we find the conflict between primitivism and civilization. This primitive attitude, that is the orthodox, the rigid attitude of the aristocratic people, that is right in conflict with the present civilization, the upcoming civilization of modern changes, industrialization. This conflict has many dimensions. This is the conflict between past and present. This is the conflict between the old and the new. This is the conflict between rigidity and change. It is the conflict between the older traditions and the present uh, traditions, the new realities of life. The old realities and the new realities are at war with each other. This is what Faulkner has to convey to us as a message through this story. Dear students, some critics think that William Faulkner presents himself as a lover of nature uh, in his short stories. So, nature and transcendentalism are also the themes of this story. Faulkner loves nature and could almost be called a pioneering environmentalist. He mm, creates and paints a very special type of environment, the atmosphere. Although you may feel that the environment created by him has got natural beauty in it, but it is overshadowed by the presence of death, destruction, and crime, mystery, and very creepy feelings we find ourselves in. From the transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau, Faulkner inherited his uh, pantheistic view that God is in nature, is present in nature, and that those who exploit nature, both man's nature and the world's nature, are the real evil people, and they have to suffer. Uh, as in case of Emily, she tries to disturb the natural demand of love, the natural demand of society, the natural demand of human body, and that is why she has to suffer as a character. Uh, Dear students, although we have discussed this theme of time in detail in our previous discussions, uh, just to remind you uh, that it is also one of the major themes of this short story. Time is out of joint, Faulkner seems to be conveying to us. Time and space have been depicted, have been there as major themes of all his stories, especially this story. Time is what time is. It has to go on changing. No one can stop it. If someone tries to stop it, just like Emily, he or she has to suffer the crushing slaps of time indeed. Time is the crusher, is the mover. It has to go ahead. It cannot be stopped. Change is the rule of nature, and this is what makes the conflict more deeper and agonizing in this story. She tries to keep time stop at her feet by killing that man, keeping his dead body with her for all the time, for all her life, but is unable to stop time. Time is going on outside, time is moving ahead, and she is caught up in this trap of time and is destroyed and is crushed. Coming on to conclude our conversation of today, we may now conclude that the theme of tradition and myth is a very common enough theme in many of Faulkner's writings. Just like this short story, there is the theme of tradition and myth present here. Tradition and myth is used to show the cultural customs and norms in a society. This theme allows us to see the transmission of beliefs, theories, customs, norms, values through the characters from one generation to the next generation, as the father of Emily has transmitted all the traditions, all the customs, all the snobbery, all the vanity of the family to Emily. In tradition and myth, stories characters follow what they have been grown up and taught even in harsh circumstances. This is shown in the stories by William Faulkner and Flannery O'Connor's writings. A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner illustrates the tradition and myth through a regal woman enduring a difficult time in her life, while in A Good Man is Hard to Find, as we have studied by Flannery O'Connor, writes a congruent story with a focus on the grandmother's view of a good man in society. So, this tradition and myth theme focuses on the transmission of the cultural, of the civilizational values of life transmitted and transmuted to the next generation through family, through society, through environment, through surroundings. So, dear students, we may say that A Rose for Emily is Faulkner's elegy dedicated to the glory of the old southern aristocracy. Those past Nobel times are still stubbornly left deep in the memory of the residents of the town. As everyone knows, the glory of the past is like the dew on the rose. And when the morning glow rises, the sun rises, its rays are fallen on the rose, this dew just disappears. Only a little water stain remains on the rose as a symbol of the past. The death of Miss Emily is like a monument to the people of the town. In fact, they glorify her death by presenting roses to her dead body. In fact, the noble and gorgeous roses that remain in the hearts of the residents of the town have long been worn, eaten, and rotted. Behind the so called beauty is the most cruel, unbearable, and ugly side of life that is there to lurk forever for the readers and for the inhabitants of that very community. Dear students, we have just gone through some of the hints of the major themes and minor themes depicted in this very short story. You may compile on, expound, and elaborate upon these themes with the help of other questions we have discussed throughout our lessons on this very short story. If any explanation is required, you may please contact me through your CRs and GRs. Thank you very much for participating in this today's session. Till our next meeting, it is Allah Hafiz and goodbye from my side. Thank you very much again.